2 million years ago, a hominin roughly 5 feet tall walked across the plains of East Africa. No claws, no fangs, no fur thick enough to stop a bite. Around it, lions nearly twice the size of today's, hyenas that hunted in packs of 40, and saber-toothed cats built to kill animals 3 times their weight. By every measure of raw physical power, this hominin should have been near the bottom of the food chain, and for a long time it was, prey, not predator. Yet somehow, over the next 2 million years, that same lineage didn't just survive alongside the deadliest carnivores in Earth's history, it outlasted almost all of them. The cave bears are gone, the saber-tooths are gone, the dire wolves, the giant hyenas, the short-faced bears, gone. We're still here. Paleontologists and archaeologists have spent decades trying to explain that outcome, and the answer isn't strength, it's not speed, it's something stranger, and it shows up in the bones. To understand how unlikely this was, you have to understand what early humans were actually up against. Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat, had canine teeth up to 7 inches long and enough bite force to puncture bone. Cave hyenas hunted in coordinated clans and could crack open the femurs of animals the size of rhinoceroses. Arctodus, the short-faced bear of Ice Age North America, stood over 11 feet tall on its hind legs. Early hominins had none of the natural weapons these animals carried. What they did have was something almost invisible in the fossil record at first: control of fire. Evidence from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests hominins were using fire roughly 1 million years ago, and archaeologists believe controlled use became consistent by around 400,000 years ago. Fire did more than cook food. It lit up the dark, the one place predators had always held the advantage. For a while, this seemed to be enough. Groups clustered near hearths, used caves as shelter, and the fossil record shows long stretches of apparent equilibrium, humans and predators occupying the same landscapes without catastrophic losses. But that equilibrium wasn't permanent, because the moment early humans wanted the same caves the bears wanted, something had to give. Archaeologists have found evidence of what they call denning conflict, sites in Europe where cave bear skeletons show cut marks from stone tools, and where human occupation layers sit directly on top of or interleaved with decades of bear hibernation. In some caves in France and Germany, researchers believe humans deliberately entered dens during winter when bears were in torpor and vulnerable, and killed them with stone-tipped spears before they could wake. This required something predators never needed: planning, timing, knowing an animal's biology well enough to strike during the one window it couldn't fight back. Then there's the physical toll on the humans themselves. A landmark study by researchers Thomas Berger and Eric Trinkhaus in the 1990s compared the skeletal injuries of Neanderthals to modern rodeo athletes, people whose job is getting thrown by large animals. The pattern matched almost exactly: healed fractures to the skull, ribs, and upper limbs, consistent with close-range combat against large, powerful animals. Neanderthals weren't avoiding these predators, they were fighting them at arm's length repeatedly and surviving it often enough to heal. Stone-tipped spears, some dating back roughly 500,000 years at a site in South Africa called Kathu Pan, show wear patterns consistent with thrusting into large animals, not just throwing. This wasn't ambush from a distance, this was proximity. Groups of humans working together, closing the size gap between themselves and something that could kill any one of them alone in seconds. And the bones prove it wasn't always a win. Hyena dens excavated in Europe contain human bone fragments gnawed and scattered among the remains of horses and deer. Evidence, researchers argue, that humans weren't only hunters in this story. Sometimes they were food.
It's tempting to read this as a story about human dominance, that we clawed our way to the top through sheer cleverness, that the predators never stood a chance. That's not quite what the evidence shows.
For most of the Pleistocene, humans and megafaunal predators lived in tension, not conquest. Researchers studying these sites tend to frame survival not as a triumph of the individual, but of the group. No single human could beat a cave bear or a pack of hyenas. What could was coordination, shared knowledge passed between generations about when a den was empty, where a fire needed to burn, how to read an animal's behavior before it read yours. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have long noted that this kind of cooperative problem-solving, not physical strength, is the trait that shows up again and again as the actual survival advantage. The predators that outmatched humans physically are extinct. The species that had to think its way through every encounter is not. That's the reframe worth sitting with. It also came at a cost historians rarely dwell on. The injuries, the losses, the bones in the hyena dens are a reminder that this wasn't an easy or guaranteed outcome. It was close for a very long time. So the next time you see a headline about the world's deadliest predators, remember this: the deadliest ones are already gone. The ones that stuck around had a weakness built into their bodies. We had a weakness built into ours, too. We just found a way to close it together. Which raises the real question worth asking, not how we survived the predators of the past, but which of today's threats we're only getting through the same way without realizing it.